How are you doing? Day 7. Day 7 of the ROKR submachine gun. That's what it's going to look like when it's done, including some targets. Those aren't wine glasses, they're targets. And here's what it looks like now. There's going to be 275 pieces total. We're up to 114 now. So we're not quite halfway yet, and I would say that that's how it looks when you look at what we got here. Like, it's not quite halfway. Because it's not. But we're going to make some progress today. I got kind of a late start. I watched a movie. Kind of a silly movie. I think it was called No Hard Feelings. It was the girl from the Hunger Games in a movie. A comedy. I'm tempted to say it's like a Melissa McCarthy type of movie, but it actually couldn't be because look, Melissa McCarthy has a certain look that only fits certain situations, whereas I believe her name is Jennifer Lawrence. She has a look that could be in this movie. So it's like, I don't want to ruin the whole thing, but it's kind of a crazy plot, actually. You know what? Just watch 5 minutes of it and decide if you want to see the rest or not. Because I don't think I can really talk about that movie. It was, anyway, I think it was No Hard Feelings on Netflix. I'm actually not sure if it was like, I usually have this question when something's on Netflix. Is it like a Netflix-made movie, or is it, did someone else make it and they just play it? I really have no idea. Anyway, we're not supposed to be talking about movies. We're supposed to be talking about fitness, which I'll start doing, but first we got to find segment 4 in the instructions. There's segment 5. Oh, you don't even see what I see. All right, there's segment 5. There's the beginning of segment 5. We need the beginning of segment 4. So maybe the previous page? Nope. Wow, segment 4. Goes on for a while, but looks like we found the beginning. All right, so if you check out here, what does that look like? That looks like what we got. Let me see if I can get the angle just right. How about that? Does that look about the same? Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just accidentally pulled the trigger on this thing. Which also happened in that movie. I better not go into any more details. It was such a silly movie. Anyway. Let me see here. Alright. So that was the end of segment 3. Segment 4. What does it say here? The tip of the screw cannot protrude from the bottom of the part. So there's 2 little pictures there. When the screw is even, you get a check. When the screw goes too deep, you get an X. So don't put the screw too far in. I don't even know what they're talking about, to be honest with you, but okay. When we get to the screw, we'll make sure we don't put it in too far. Check if the screws are assembled properly from the view of the gaps on the other side. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what they're talking about. Fire safe. Fire safe? What's that all about? Fire safe. All right. Yeah, there it is. Fire safe. So, it says fire there. It says safe there. And that matches what it shows on the instructions. Still have no idea what's going on with those instructions, but I mean, we'll figure it out. You know, we'll start by collecting the pieces, and then I guess they're going to make sense, you know? Collect the pieces, you kind of look at them, you kind of think what they're supposed to do. Or maybe you're just supposed to look at this picture and understand exactly what it's supposed to do. Do they have an AI that can follow these instructions? Because then I'll be embarrassed. Oh, talking about AI, that's kind of a good lead-in. All right, let me just talk about these pieces, and then I'll talk about what the AI is leading into. All right, so P5, which is kind of one of those plastic washers. P6, which is a rod of 7 millimeters. So P6, a rod of 7 millimeters. Another P4, that's a spring. P12, that's a bolt or a screw. H19, that's a wooden piece. I13, another wooden piece, and then another P5, one of those plastic washers that acts as a locking nut. I know, it's ridiculous. What can I tell you? A lot of this stuff is ridiculous. Alright, that movie was ridiculous. I'm not going to say any more about that movie. Let's just say you probably won't regret watching it. Alright, let's just count up how many pieces we're talking about here. P5, 12, P6, P4, another P5. So just from the P's, we got 5 pieces, then H19 and I13. So what's that, about 7 pieces? We're not even going to be anywhere, even when we get that done, but whatever. 7 pieces. So that brings us from 114 to 121. And I'll start collecting those pieces. And while I do that, we'll continue our discussion of fitness. So, physical fitness involves mental fitness. The brain is the brains of your body. You're not really going to get anything done with your body, fitness or otherwise, without a good brain. And there's things you can do to make your brain better. I don't think I can list them all, but just for basic concepts, reading, writing, speaking, playing chess, playing anything really, thinking original thoughts, following through on projects. Did I mention the chess and the Tetris? Oh, video games. That's a fun one. Oh, so we need I13. Is it like already punched out? Why can't I find I13? All right, I13 is supposed to look like a little... It looks like this piece exactly. So that's probably I13. Yeah, that's I13. We need that piece. So, don't let anyone ever sell you on this concept of a dumb jock. Because there's no such thing. There might be an ignorant jock. There might be a jock who hasn't put into his brain the type of information that traditionally successful people do. But if you're an athlete, your brain works. If you've run a 100-meter dash in less than 10 seconds, your brain works extremely well. Because the balance, the timing, the sensing, the striking, the muscle coordination, the neurological control of the muscles, everything you have to do to run a 100-meter dash in under 10 seconds, you cannot do unless you have a highly functioning brain. So, some people like to make fun of jocks and call them dumb It's not possible. It's not possible for you to be successful in sports without having a highly functioning brain. It is possible to fill up your brain with nonsense, and therefore, doesn't matter how smart you are, the stuff that you're doing can be stupid, can be ignorant. You're not using your noodle. So, the most rest assured way to make sure that you're using your brain is to actively use it. And that's why I was mentioning some of those things that people do. Putting this puzzle together right now, this could be using your brain. I mean, right now I'm kind of failing. I'm trying to find the H piece and I'm not finding it. I think I kind of had a brain lapse for a second. I probably, there's the H board. I probably passed over it. Don't know how I managed that. All right, H19. It looks like just a little, tiny little piece, like a little, it looks like this piece. And that's not a coincidence. That piece is H19. So let's grab, what is it, just one H19? Yeah. And then we got to go into the bag and start grabbing all those P's. I want to correct something I was talking about yesterday. When I was talking about thinking something, and then that something showing up in reality, that doesn't necessarily mean that the person who thought it created it. And it actually relates to this functioning brain that we've been talking about for the last few minutes. But only in the context of the theory. The sort of theory of how the universe works and how our consciousness exists in the universe, which I haven't fully explained yet, but I'm regardless going to talk about it. So, as I've mentioned before, my belief is that the data of the universe exists and is accessible to everyone, but you have choices. You have choices where you view it from. You have choices how you render it. And you have choices when you render it. So, for example, there's a clock that everyone sort of agreed upon where the clock is watching the data. But what if you're watching the data at an earlier point? Or what if you just render the data quicker than everyone else, and therefore you choose to stay consciously in time with everyone else, but subconsciously you may have already rendered the data. So you might think, oh, I'm going to get a call from whoever today. And then whoever calls and you're like, oh, I made them call me with my brain. No, actually. You might have just taken a peek at the data and saw what was coming up, and you were right. You know, you dissolved it, you rendered it. It's easier to render on time because everyone was rendering at that time. Right now I'm measuring to make sure this tiny little bar is 7 millimeters. So even if you're slow on the uptake, you're probably going to get the information by time everyone else goes public with their render. But if you're good at rendering ahead of the curve, you know, like those people who can run the 10 meter the 100-meter dash in under 10 seconds, but that just means that their brain works. It doesn't necessarily mean that they've been using their brain to render the data and to read the data. Maybe they're not even reading it. Or maybe they're not reading an important part of it. I'm looking for P12. I don't know why I'm holding P13. All right, let's just recap here. So we have two P5s. We have P4. We have P6. We have H19. We have I13. I think the only thing we don't have is P12. I don't know why I'm holding the bag for P13. It's the bag for P13. I don't need it. But for some reason I picked it up. P15. Now I'm reading you bags that are off camera. Alright, you're going to like this next bag, which I will now bring on camera. It's P12. That's what we're looking for. 19 pieces, 2 millimeter diameter, 5 millimeter length. We need one of them. So let's grab one of them. I'm pretty sure there's extras of any of these screws. Because when I did the ROKR 3D pinball puzzle, I had like 100 screws left at the end. And my pinball puzzle worked completely. There was nothing wrong with it. They just gave us a lot of extra screws. I can't get the screw back in the bag. What am I doing wrong? Is it not opening up? Alright. By the way, data can be hidden from you as well. It's kind of like how I was talking about rendering the data. Someone could hide data from you, simple as misdirection. That's why people talk about magic and it's like, oh, it's just a trick. Yeah, I mean, technically it's just a trick, but it can be a very profound trick if everyone is looking the other way, is misdirected. I think the problem with a lot of understandings of the universe is materialism. I am not a believer in materialism. If you believe in God, you probably don't believe in materialism, but it's a very popular belief, and it just screws everything up. Consistency. What you should ask for is consistency, because consistency can give you like 100%. I'm tempted to say 99%, but I think it's capable of giving you 100%. But it's also can give you more. Consistency can give you 110% of what materialism will give you. And I think materialism is short-sighted. Now, the reason why some materialists, I think, are adamant about it, I don't want to speak for them. They could give you their answer why they're adamant about it. But a reason I would imagine that they're adamant about it is they don't like inconsistent immaterialists, which there are many. It's a very popular hobby, and those people are in religion as well. It's a very tricky thing with religion. You've got some of the greatest thinkers, but also some of the laziest thinkers, and also a lot of bullshit artists. I'm telling you, it's like it's a weird thing. It's like the secrets of the universe are there, but there's charlatans there too. So if this was investing, they'd call it swimming with the sharks. But in religion, you tend to get a take it or leave it kind of attitude. You get people who buy too much of it and people who refuse to buy any of it. That's not, and I think the answer is not either of those. All right, let me hold on the philosophy for a second while I take a look at what I'm supposed to do here. So there's 3 holes in this piece, this 113 piece. I'll give you an angle there where you can see it. 1, 2, 3. So we've got the sort of Christmas stocking, the toes pointing at us, and this big aperture on the right. Little one in the middle, medium one on the left. The easy one is the big one. It gets H19. The middle one is also not too difficult. It gets the screw. The screw is P12. And it just goes, and both of these just go right in. The tricky one is the one on the left. Wait a minute, hold on a second. There is something tricky to the middle one. The screw has to hold that spring. The spring is P4. And then the one on the left is going to have that rod go through it. And then on the other end, it's going to get the other H5. So let's work left to right, shall we? So the rod, the 7mm rod, with the 2 P5s at each end. I might have said H5 one time, but it's a P5. So we're going to put the cap on. That actually went fairly easy. So here's the piece. On both sides, it's got a P5 plastic piece, circle, donut, with the P6 metal flush at the edge. Right? There we go. Now, the special instruction that we got to not screw it in too deep, I think this is going to be relevant on this middle hole. Probably other places too, but definitely there. We don't want to screw it in too far. So we're going to take the screw, which is P12, and we're going to feed it through the spring, which is P4. The spring that has the circles at either end. And we're going to get the sort of flat side going down. The way to do that is to put it through the other side, and then we're going to screw it in there. It's a very small target we got to hit. I can't see or feel it, honestly. I'm going to start turning and hope for the best. Yeah, it didn't go in. All right. New plan. Let's see if the screwdriver fits this piece. Yep, yeah, it does. All right. I'm going to hold the screwdriver and see if I can get it in there. Let's see if we can get that picture looking. There we go. A little bit better. All right, so we're going to try to line that up and just immediately start screwing. I'm looking at the camera, same as you. That's my only chance of seeing this. I'm going to hold my finger on the back because if I feel the screw, I have to start backing it off. Because remember that instruction, don't overscrew it. All right, I feel the screw. I think, even though I felt it, the screw is not coming out. I think I felt it because maybe the flesh of my finger went inside of there. I actually think I can screw it a little bit more. But if it comes out, I'll back off. Wow, I still don't think it's pushing out yet. Now I think, let me check it again. It might be flush now. What do you think? Is that flush? I think it is. Yeah, there's the screw. It's right there. It's flush with the back. So the last piece is easy. We just grab the H19 and just shove it in there. Might need the needle nose pliers. It goes in kind of vertically, if that makes sense. Oh, you know how I'll describe this movie? The Jennifer Lawrence movie I was talking about before, as a like 30-year later sequel to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It had Matthew Broderick in it. It had a car that gets wrecked in the end, and it's almost like, was Cameron the name of Ferris Bueller's friend? It's almost was like Cameron's story. Like Cameron was like very sheltered in that Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Ferris takes him out for a day. And in this movie, Matthew Broderick, who was Ferris Bueller in that Ferris Bueller's Day Off, he's like the father. I don't want to give too much away. He's trying to... let me just say, there is something in common with Ferris Bueller's Day Off beyond that Matthew Broderick's in it. There's some notes there. There's something similar. Oh, wait a second. Am I not done yet? I might have been screwing this whole thing up. Oh, yeah, the P12. I'm absolutely not done. Is that a second P12? We do need a second P12. Remember when 2 P12s came out of the bag and we spent like 10 minutes trying to put one of them back? Turns out we needed 2 of them the whole time, so that was stupid. And it's funny because I was making this speech about intelligence and developing your mind, and it's part of fitness, and the whole while I was not reading the instructions clearly. I didn't get the second P12 out. Now it's there. So we'll go to 122. And I wasn't looking forward to where this goes, because basically this screw is going to go through the other end of this spring, and this is all going to get attached to the submachine gun. And now I'm sort of wondering about those instructions of not overscrewing. Are they even relevant? I'm not sure. Like, now I'm thinking, am I supposed to screw this in further so that it goes into this other piece of wood? Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little confused right now. Okay, I think that's one of the circles. But I have no idea where the other one would go. Oh, maybe the whole piece goes in there? Alright, let's figure this out. Now we got this tab here. But the tab should be on top, which means the piece goes in like this. I know I'm just kind of using these words that aren't very specific. They said not to screw it in too far, but I feel like I didn't screw it in far enough. Is it supposed to connect to something? Okay. There's a circle here, and this plastic circle is supposed to go into that circle. That's it. That's what's supposed to happen. Now, okay. Now we're going to try to get that second piece through that spring and through that wood. That's the plan. The second P12. Is it P12? Yeah, P12. Second P12. Let's do it. Let's get it in there. I'm not sure if it's in there or not. Let's look here. Do you see? Can you tell? I cannot tell. I think it's in. This is where we don't want to overscrew it though, right? But we don't know if we're overscrewing it or not. Like, we can't see the second piece of wood. This one feels like it could be screwed in more. This is crazy. Which is the screw? The tip of the screw cannot protrude from the bottom of the part, but they're showing it going through 2 pieces of wood, which neither of these screws does. They go through 1 piece of wood each. Wow. And I have no way of knowing if that screw went too far in or not. Should I just back it out for good measure? I'm going to do that. Wow, it really feels like it's bouncy right now. But this is maybe going to connect to something. This H19 piece, it's sort of sticking out the top. And I think maybe it's going to connect to something. So let's kind of just move on, hoping for the best at this point. All right, the next section, we're adding P10, which is the large rod, 24 millimeter rod. And we're adding, again, I'm not sure the name, maybe it's the chuck, but it's P18. And it's a huge piece. And there's some little instructions here about how it's supposed to align. It's obviously going to make contact with the other plastic piece, but what they're showing us specifically is the blades. They have an orientation. They can point like clockwise or counterclockwise. They want them to point clockwise as you're looking at the face that they show in the picture, which is the same face that we're looking at. So basically right there, right there, that's where the new piece is going to go through, that like plastic piece, and there's going to be a rod that goes through it. So 2 more pieces brings us up to 124. We're still not even halfway through this puzzle. All right, so this piece is, I'm pretty sure, P18. I'll look to see if there's another piece that looks like that and make sure there's no confusion, but I don't see one. So P24. Okay, are there 4 pieces that are 24 millimeters? Because I have 4 such pieces. I have 4, the longest piece I have 4 times. Or is one of them longer than the others? In which case, maybe 3 are 20s and the 4th is 24. They have springs. Some of them have springs like inadvertently wrapped around them. Anyway, I'm not seeing any difference in length. So we have to go back to page 1 to see how many of these 24 millimeter rods there are. If there's 4, then we found them. If there aren't, then back to the drawing board. All right, so what there are 4 of is the 30 millimeter. So the 24 is not the big boy. The 24 is the second biggest, and there's only 1 of them. Just to show you here. P10, 24 millimeter, 1. There's 4 30s. There's only 1 24. So that must be the 24. We'll verify with calipers. But that's what it's looking like. I don't know why I put the calipers away. Every other night I left them on the desk correctly. Tonight I, for some reason, put them away. But anyway, they're not too far. Can grab them and measure this piece. See if it's 24 millimeters or not. It should be. Well, let's see. All right. What? Okay. All right, 24, basically. 24 millimeters. All right, 24 millimeters. Is that what we got here? Indeedly doodly. Indubitably? I don't know. It's 24 millimeters, or whatever you want to call that. All right. So we were on segment 4. Let's find segment 4, I guess. All right. 2, 3. Wow, these segments are so huge. We're on the second panel of segment 4. I mean, what the flip? I mean, we're 35 minutes into the episode, and we're on the second panel. Yep. Well, everyone who comments on these videos is right. I'm really slow and bad at putting puzzles together. Is that a problem? I hope it's not. I think it's okay. I think when I played video games, it's like my job was to be there so other people could win in the shooters. It wasn't officially my job. I mean, I was doing it for fun, but effectively that was my role. So it looks like my role in puzzles is similar. I'm going slow so you don't have to. When you get ahead of me, you can just fast forward. But if you're having a slow day or a slow segment, hey, I'm right there with you. All right, so there's a little hole here. I guess this is going to come out that side. Maybe get a washer attached. It did come out a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. The metal kind of sticks out a little bit. I'm thinking it's going to get a P5. They haven't mentioned it yet. Let's see. The other end, it's sticking out. I believe the term is aplenty. Well, clearly there's a lot more work to go on the other side. And in fact, I think this piece is going to fall out before any of that work gets done, unless it's very soon. Saw blades are going counterclockwise. They're kind of pointing counterclockwise. That was an important note from the instructions, so we had to make sure we did that. All right, next segment of the instructions is quite robust, but it's only one piece. We're going to add the G1, and that is going to lock everything down. All right, G1. Is that one of the pieces that I knocked out by accident, or is that this huge piece right here? It's not this piece. This is the H board. All right, let's look for the G board. There's the G board. Oh, I see another big piece. Is this it? What are we looking for? G1? G1. Now, I assume that we did this as like the first piece of the puzzle. That should have been named G1. Like, why is this one that we do on the fourth segment named G1? And is this a real piece, or do I knock this out? I think I'm supposed to knock that out. That looks fake. Yep. That thing is fake as flip. Okay. G1. Big sort of piece here. All right. Can we get it out without breaking it? We did it. All right. Can we get it onto this gun without breaking everything else? Who knows what I even broke? That's one of the disadvantages of working in several nights. You sort of forget what you put where, and then when you go and look at it the next day, maybe you screw everything up because things are out of place, you don't notice, and then you lock them in that way. It makes it tougher. I'm not saying that it's easy to put it together in one sitting, but doing it over multiple days does create some challenges. So you can see a bunch of circles here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think that those circles are going to line up with these P5s. I think so anyway. Let's see. They don't. Do I have this piece upside down or something? The circles don't line up. Oh, they line up with these tiny little nothings. Are these missing P5s? Why are these tiny little nothings? When I look at the... Let me show you what I'm looking at. When I look here... Okay. These are P5s. Clearly, right? And then look over here. Where they're going to connect. Those are just screw heads, right? They look like screw heads. But they drew them so big that they look like P5s. Anyway, they're not P5s. So, I don't know what all these circles are for. They don't line up with the P5s. Maybe this one is going to line up with one of them. Let's see. Oh, some pieces hooked together. You probably can... Oh, wrong camera. You probably can see this one. You see that like trapezoid cut and that trapezoid cut out. So, I assume those fit together. If they don't fit together, this puzzle makes no sense. They must fit together. Yeah, they fit together. Snug as a bug in a rug. Alright, we do have a P5 going through the first hole. It's actually not going on at all. Not sure why. Well, I think we just have to maybe shimmy it a little. Maybe these end pieces as well. Yeah, get the end pieces on. That could be stopping you. Ah, look at this. Nothing's catching that yet. We thought it would get caught. There's another like perfect fit here. I don't know if you noticed that. This thing fits right in that cutout. That looks like it's begging for a screw. Well, G1. By the way, we didn't count G1. 125 pieces. Counting G1. Alright. I think we added G1. I mean, I think there's going to be more to this, but we've done what they've instructed us to do up to this point. Though I clearly think there's going to be a screw here. There's going to be probably a piece here, a piece here. I mean, I can see where the stuff is going to fall in, but they haven't asked us to do it yet, so we're not. Okay. What they are going to do, using 3 screws, 3 P16s, is start building up the handle a little bit. I think I'm supposed to turn the page to do that. Yeah. Can see it better here. 3 P16s and an I-19. P16s are screws, I-19 is a piece of wood. If you can see there on the next row, we're going to be testing something. So let's try to get to the next row. Alright, so the current row, section, segment, panel, whatever, has 3 screws and I-9, which is a piece of wood. So that's 4 pieces. It brings us to 129 pieces. So I-9, if I'm not mistaken, I is the tan piece. Remember, we have one piece that's like tan, I-9. So I-9, it's got to be this piece, or it's already popped out. Does that say I-9? Either that or it says 61. I think it says I-9. So this is I-9. And we're going to need 3 P16s. So anyway, neurological control of muscles is a part of fitness. every part, every bodily function that you have. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Some of them are automata, but there's a lot, even beyond what your brain consciously controls. There's a lot that's controlled by your brain in sort of an autopilot mode. And you should be glad that it's autopilot, because some things you don't want to be in control of. You want it to be autopilot. Okay. 3 P16s. 1. Oh, they're big pieces. 2. We've worked with them before. You know, I think I got a couple of them on the floor there. I mean, I'll take them out of the bag for now. But when we run out, I said on the floor, and I actually meant this tray here. I think those are P16s right there and right there. I don't know. We'll see if we need them. So these should fit the screwdriver, right? Not really. I could take like a bigger screwdriver off my shelf. But let's try these for now. There's also a screwdriver on the tip of this. I don't know if that's better or worse. Alright. Enough fooling around here. Line this up. The 3 screw holes. Alright. 1, 2. Where's the third one go? It's probably there, right? I'm not sure. There or there. Yeah, I don't know. Let's put the back 2 in because I know where those go. And then once those 2 are in, the front one should just kind of be where it belongs, you know? When you put 1 in, the whole piece can spin. But when you put 2 in, it's not going to move much. And you probably can see very well where the third one is going to go. It should be already lined up. I don't think that was going in. This one might be. Yeah, it is. Alright, let's try this one again. Yeah, I think I got it. So, with these 2 in, this one should be pretty well lined up. Yeah, it's with the front hole. Not that front hole. The front hole in this piece of wood. Alright, so we're putting the 3 screws in. We're really putting the screws to this board. Did I count those 4 pieces? Yeah, I think I did. Alright. This screw feels like it's stripped. I don't know, maybe it feels better on yours, but for me it feels like it's spinning. Yeah, that thing is stripped. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but it is stripped. Alright. What do we got here? Let's keep moving on. Moving on. Ah, 2 more of the J2s. Remember those wax pieces? Well, they're not waxed yet. We got to wax them. These 2 pieces. We need 2 J2s. They want them waxed everywhere. Both faces and the edge. There's only one edge on a circle. It's the whole edge. And then they need the A16. So that brings us from 129 to 132. A16. Where's the A board? Been a while. JRYE. How did I get that stuck? H. K. We haven't done anything with the K board. Here's I. It also could have fallen out. We have some pieces, like you can see over here. There's a lot of pieces that have fallen out. Alright, A16. It's not a huge piece. I'm thinking it's one of those pieces we knocked out because there's A20. All right, let's look in the scrap heap for A16. A20. Does that seem like a good sign? A16, I found it. So this is A16, but it's somehow also A17. I think A17 probably popped. Ooh, some spam just fell off. Chaff. Okay, yeah, here's some more chaff. There's A16. We need that. And there's some more chaff. So now A17 is ready to go. We don't need it yet. But we have what we need. We have A16, 2 J2s, which we need to wax. And then we're going to install them. All right. Alright, we're waxing these J2s, the edges and the faces. Everything's getting waxed. Alright. I only said plural edges because there's 2 of these. There's obviously only one edge. Are you familiar with a Mobius strip? It only has one edge, but it like loops around. You gotta see it. It was the it's how Iron Man solved time travel, and I think it was Endgame was the name of the movie. All right. Where do these 2 circles go? I think it's maybe on these 2, like these 2 P5s up here. I think maybe that's where they go. Let's take a closer look here. Wax them. Yeah, take a look at that. I think that's it. So the A16, no, the J2s go up here, but they're not going to be locked in yet. And the A16 goes in this slot. So 2 J2s, they're going to be flopsing for a minute. A16, including a connection to this little piece you might remember from before. All right. Let's get the A16 in there. That's interesting. Look what the A16 did. I mean, it's going to fall right out. Same thing with these 2 J2s. There must be another piece that's going to get put on top of here very quickly, because if I flip this over 1, 2, 3, all those pieces are going to fall out. All 3 of those pieces. All right, so let's see what's next. There we go. H1. We were looking at that piece recently. And by the way, it's not just H1. We also get I15 and 2 P15s, which those P15s are 10 millimeter screws. So H1, I15, and 2 P15s. That's going to bring us from 132 to 136. All right. The screws are P15s. Have we used any P15s yet? They're very skinny, by the way. Are those like only 1 millimeter? Yeah. 4 by 10 millimeter. I don't know what that means. No, 1.4 by 10 millimeters. So they're 1.4 millimeters in diameter, I think. 2 of them just dropped out. And that's exactly how many we need. 2 of them. They just fell right out. Now we need H1 and I15. H1. We saw that piece recently, didn't we? There it is. H1. It's quite the piece. Check it out. If you can even get it all on camera. Goes from here to here. That's H1. That's going to lock everything down once that gets attached. There's the targets, by the way. Those wine glass looking targets. Don't shoot wine glasses, shoot these targets. Don't eat this, eat that. Wow, look at that splinter. Well, that's why we have sandpaper, right? There's, on the other end as well, there's a splinter. Up here. Okay. Now what? I-15 comes from that tan colored board. Okay. It's like, can they make this like more difficult to read? All right, is that I-15? Yeah, I'll tell you, it doesn't look like the piece in the, like, look at this piece. Look at the I-15 on the instruction manual. Now look at the I-15 on the board. Does that look like the same piece to you? That's what I'm saying. You often have to punch out the pieces and then take a look at them, because you don't know anything from looking at that instruction manual. It's not as accurate as it could be. I think the U-Gears ones, they somehow use like the same software to create the pieces as to do the manual. They've got like 3D renders of all the pieces. They make mistakes too. I mean, all these companies make mistakes, but at least their pieces are proportion. Their images change size from image to image, and that makes it not match up. But anyway, 2 screws, I-15, H1. Let's do this. It's never as easy as you think it's going to be. Or do you not expect it to be easy? I guess I just always expect it to be easy, and it never is. Let's get this on. Okay. Before I tighten this up, I want to get this I-15 piece in here. I think it'll provide a little support. It might give us a false sense of confidence, though, and we might end up breaking pieces because we think they're stronger than they are. So we're not going to rely on this piece, but I just want to get it into place. Yeah, you definitely don't want to rely on that piece for any support. You'll just break it. In fact, it just popped right out. Got to get this circle in here. I'm not going to put the screws in until the circle is through. There's a P5 under there that wants to get through that circle. It's not in. You can see it here. It's not in. Now it is. Okay. Now we want to get those screws on while we got everything else nice and tight. What do you think? It's going to take the miniature screwdriver or the regular screwdriver? I don't know. We shall soon see. The world's freaking smallest screwdriver. I'm sure there's smaller screwdrivers out there, but this is a pretty small one. I can't even like see it. I can't see what I'm doing. Not in real life or the camera. All right, I think I got it started. Once you get it started, you could work by feel. Cannot get the camera angle there. All right. Feels good. Feels like it's in there. Let's screw the other one in. All right, got it. Time to go to Pound Town. No, Screw Town. Pound Town would be if we had a hammer. But we have a screwdriver. So we're going to Screw Town, I guess. This is like not working. These bottoms are like sliding apart. Let's see if we can get this in there this time. Nope. Another fail. You know, the first one went in so easy that I thought this was going to be easy. All right. I think we got it. This one is, oh, this one is flaked. Why did that happen? Wow, did they give us an extra of I-15? I bet they didn't. I don't see an extra. It can only be, if it's the extras, unless it's going to be the wrong color, it can only be on this I board. No extra I-15. Not good. Any chance we got one over here? I don't see one yet. I'll keep my eyes peeled. By the way, it's time to test something here. It says pull the trigger and then pull the bolt handle as the arrow direction. If the spring gets jammed, remove H1 and check if the screws are assembled properly, referring to step 4. That doesn't sound like any fun. This thing better work. This thing better just work. Alright, so pull trigger, then pull bolt handle. Alright. Pull trigger. That made a good sound. And then pull bolt handle? Can I do that? I don't know how I would pull this bolt handle. I'll tell you when I pull it, that spring like goes in. Pull bolt handle as in the arrow direction. I'm just editing. They probably they probably mean in. They show a ton of movement, but maybe they're thinking it's going to start out here because maybe the trigger was supposed to send it there. Trigger doesn't really do anything at this point. Pull the trigger and then pull the bolt handle. Yeah. The bolt handle is supposed to be way up here. This is off. Can you see this piece? It's clearly off. Try to get it on. Do you think I got these J2s on? I'm not sure. They needed to be waxed a lot. Alright, they're on now. This piece is not, though. Okay, let's try pulling the trigger again, see what happens. Nothing happens when I pull the trigger. So this thing is supposed to wheel like all the way up front here. This thing doesn't move at all. The trigger supposed to move it? Oh, that mainspring. The trigger supposed to somehow release it? This spring is like coming out. I just pushed it back in. I don't know if it did any good. This one is not lined up, I'll tell you that. I'm going to make it get lined up. All right, now it's lined up. All right, there's something. And that something seems to work. But this bolt action does not move at all. Well, this gun is going to be a fail if we can't get this bolt action to move. I feel like it's in some way related to this trigger. All right, I think we're going to end for tonight, and I'll look at this bolt action before the next episode. In fact, we might even do like a different puzzle tomorrow. By the way, this screw that I said was stripped in this corner here, it fell out. So that thing is definitely was not going in anywhere. Wasn't going in anywhere useful anyway. I'll try again. But maybe I'll just add it to the list of things that we need to get working before the next episode. Wow, I can't even find the screwdriver right now. There it is. Okay, so this screw is loose. So we got a screw loose. I'm not sure it's going to get not loose. No, maybe it is. I don't know. Anyway, I need to figure out this bolt action before we move on. So I'll do that before the next episode. I'm John Rapp. This is Just Rest Your Eyes. Good night and see you tomorrow.